cool, but I'm always like, next game mentality.
17 in a row is a long time, though.
Yeah.
Does it feel like, okay, there's extra weight with the coming games because you don't want to lose, or hey, let's keep the streak going, or can you honestly say it's really just next game?
It's really just next game. Honestly, I think, like, I didn't even know we had a win streak up until, I think it was a couple games ago, like maybe 2 games ago. And even then, like, I think we just are so big on next game mentality. We only have so many left, especially for us seniors, and to be able to play with this group and at the Crest and in front of our fans. So it's always next game mentality for us.
Do you, and it's hard sometimes to compare, but since you got here, you guys have won a conference championship every year, but now that everybody's either a super senior or senior for the most part, do you feel like this is your best team since you've been here, or is it really hard to kind of compare?
I think it's really hard to compare just because I think, like, especially in the conference teams are different, so conference standings are always going to be different, so it's hard to compare. I think you get better naturally year to year with players, but I think, like, we've remained pretty steady. It would be interesting to see if, like, our team this year would play our team last year, just to see what happened, like, if we could do that, but I'm not sure. I would say it's pretty even.
Would your team this year beat last year?
I have no clue. I could not tell you. I have no clue.
When it comes to, like, this win streak, though, like, in some of these games, it feels like, you know, you guys are struggling a little bit, and then it just clicks, and you guys go on a run, and you guys put it away. Is that nice that it hasn't always been roses, that you guys have had to battle through adversity, and maybe that would help you down the stretch here?
Yeah, I think, obviously, we didn't start the season exactly on the way we wanted to, so I think that's important just because it builds us up as a team. And like you said, having to fight through the adversity, it makes us stronger and makes us better because shots aren't always going to go in, and there's a lot of things you can't always control, so being able to, like, dig down and find what you can control has helped us, definitely.
What was it like having, like, Kevin at practice? I don't know how much he's been here or whatever, but it's probably nice just to see a familiar face like Kevin at practice.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a very knowledgeable coach, and he's done a lot for not only us as players, but for the program as a whole. So it's always cool to see him, and good to hear his input, just to hear what he has to say.
You guys have locked in a top 2 seed now, and with the tournament always being neutral floor for the semis and the championships, how big is it still to win a regular season championship and get the number 1 seed, or does it really not matter because it's on a neutral floor?
That's a good question. I don't know. I feel like we're really like focused on just, you know, putting ourselves in a position and making us feel ready to go play at the neutral site, whether that's as a 1 seed, a 2 seed, you know, just making sure we're ready to go in and be us and play Green Bay basketball. And I think that's what these next 2 games are about. Seeding, kind of, it is what it is, and however it shakes out, we know we just have to be ready to go to Indy and be ready to play, and at home.
Do you like that setup the way it's been in recent years about the neutral place, or do you feel like the number 1 seed should be able to host the way it used to?
I don't know. I feel like I like it because I don't really know any different. I think it's cool. I think it makes it fun to be able to go and experience a new place, or I guess the same place, but to go play outside of your home gym. I think it's cool.
You guys have now vaulted up to number 22 in the nation in terms of defense and points allowed per game. Last year was 44. Obviously the defense is always good, but have you guys found another level so far kind of in this winning streak to rise all the way up to 22 like this?
I didn't know that. That's interesting to hear. I think we are a very defensive-minded group. I think that's something we take pride in, and especially, like, in our leadership. I know specifically Bailey Butler is really big on, as our point guard, being the leader, to be put her foot down and say, hey, we need a guard. We need to be able to guard, and they have to be able to go through us because, like I said, there's going to be nights where the ball just cannot get into the basket for whatever reason. Like, you can't make it happen on the offensive end, so you have to make it happen on the defensive end. So I don't know if it's something that made us, like, vault up. I think it's just more so, like, we've really been focused on being us and making that the thing that we control in every game.
Did you find that kind of as a team yesterday, scoring 59 points and at times it not falling for you even individually, that our defense was able to win that, only scoring 59 points?
Yeah, I do think our defense played a big part in that. We were playing, I mean, Cleveland State's a great team, and you have to give them a lot of credit. They have really great players on the team. They're really hard to guard, so give credit where it's due. So they also made it hard for us offensively to score. I know personally I struggled a little bit, but I think relying on our defense was really important, just knowing that it's okay. Like, we can keep a level head about us going on the offensive end because defensively we're playing really sound right now.
How would you explain the continued success of this program while changing a head coach?
I think a lot of that has to do with who coach is as a person. Kayla obviously played here, and she found a lot of success here, and so she has a lot of respect for just the Green Bay way and the community and, what it means to play on Green Bay and be a part of Green Bay women's basketball. So I think that's a big part of it she knows that we want to lead as players and we want to go in there and, we have a responsibility to ourselves to go put the work in outside of things. So then for her, she can kind of put us in positions to score, but she doesn't have to be worried about us on the outside. And she respects that a lot, and I think that's important because she played here, and she's part of the reason the Green Bay is as successful as it is. A lot of that owes to her.
Some coaches might not want a former coach around. They'd be like, hey, you're stepping on my toes, but obviously that's not how Kayla is with Kevin. How beneficial is that for you as a team to know that she's open to having Kevin still there and still providing that coaching aspect?
Yeah, I think it's cool, and I think it says a lot to how both of them are. Everyone really trusts Coach Kevin, I should say. I gotta clarify. Everyone really trusts Kevin, and he really trusts her, and I think it's good that there's just a working relationship there, with us players, and then as both of them as coaches, and then obviously Kevin's done a lot for this program, and Kayla really respects that. So it's cool that we get to see that and see how that works as she's coming in and this being her first year, and then where she'll take the program to come.
How have you seen Coach grow from the beginning of the year to now, and how she's kind of navigated this whole situation and season?
Yeah, I think this definitely is a different situation for her just because we have so many seniors, and so many of us, she didn't necessarily recruit us. And I think I have to give her a lot of credit of she was very patient with us because I think a lot of us were very strong, and we had a successful year last year. We were really comfortable in what we were running, and being able to have the kind of relationship where, if there's something she wants us to change, she can approach us about it. If there's something that we really prefer, she's open to listening to that and then intertwining that in the way we play.
I think an outsider could look at the situation and think that we have it rolling, and we think that it's really easy to do that, and I think it's really, really hard. And I've been on other teams or been a part of other programs that have talent, and just because you have talent doesn't mean you win games. So I think it's a really hard thing to do it for a short stretch is one thing, to continue it over a couple of months or weeks, whatever it's been, and night after night, continuing to be ready to go and getting everybody's best shot. It says a lot about our team and their willingness to just put it all out there every night.
Natlie was saying she wasn't really even aware that there was a huge winning streak until maybe recently. But do you sense, first of all, do you know, just because as a coach you might, but also do you sense that these opponents do know, hey, this team's been hot, we are trying to beat them?
I hear about it because I read about it too. I'm not sitting back and counting either, but and it's not anything that we talk about. It's not like we're, okay, now let's go get number 17, now let's go get, it's just not what we're by doing that, that's not achieving any of the goals that we put out in front of us. So I think when you don't focus on it, I think you're just better off at focusing on one opponent at a time. And that's just the mindset we've gone with.
In this win streak, it's
Yeah.
Yes, it's great, but these games you've had to battle some adversity too. It feels like,
Yeah.
all of a sudden it'll just click. Is that nice that your group can fight through that adversity and come out on the other side of it?
Yeah, I think that's, again, when you're an outsider looking and you don't know anything about our team, I think you just think that we've had smooth sailing the whole way, and it just hasn't been. We were 7-5 after the non-conference season, and truly after that stretch of games, there were some tough games. There was a lot of adversity. We won 2 games on the road down double digits that I'm not sure we should have won, and we found ways to come back and beat UIC and beat UND, and that just built some character early on for us. And I think as we've gotten rolling, we've just become a little bit more comfortable with each other and with the way in which we're doing things, which I think are maybe a little bit different, and that comes with any transition. So I don't know. I think as we got going, we just continued to build off of it. And again, it's not something that we focus on, but I just think when the conference play started and you lose a player like Maddie Schreiber, I mean, talk about adversity. That's a lot of adjusting that has to happen amongst your team and amongst the players. Not just like going out and producing more, but like the emotional loss that you have of a senior that you thought you're going to be able to rely on and have her play a lot of minutes, and suddenly one of your leaders is just not available. And that's a lot of adversity to go through for those 10 games. We had a lot of people step up.
Was there some, Natlie kind of admitted it, was there hard-headedness, like a veteran group that been here a while, knows that they're good?
Yeah.
Did you have to kind of break that down a little bit at first? Or
When I first got here, or early on?
Yeah, just like kind of like, not know-it-alls, I guess, but you have to find a common balance between you two.
Look, I get it. I mean, I was a part of a coaching change here, and I saw that from the player side of it. So I understand the feeling of, we've been successful. We've done it this way. This is how we're going to continue to do it because we're good at it. And I think there was a lot of conversations. I don't know. I think they overall handled it really well. Were there some times where I was questioning one side or they were questioning the other side? Definitely. And I think there was a lot of working through with that. I thought we could try to maybe do a couple different things or tweak a lot early on. And then when games started, they started to just play the way that they're normally playing and reverted back to old habits, if you will. But their old habits are pretty good. So then it was like, step back a second. Are we trying to force something that's not really worth it? And a lot of just maybe some soul searching on our coaching staff's end, maybe probably more my end than anything, and just figuring out what's really worth pushing on it right now, and how much are we willing to change, and why are we changing it. So that just was the whole part of the non-conference that we had to figure out while we were still playing really good competition, and that it just took some time.
Was that a humbling experience for you as a coach?
Yeah, I think it's growing. I'm a pretty young head coach, so I haven't had a lot of years where I'm pretty stubborn and I have it my way and I've got to do it my way. I've been actually blessed to grow up in this program, I feel like, but then I ventured off and experienced a lot of different styles and different coaching staffs and different ways of doing things, which has only benefited me because I've realized that not everywhere is as special as here, first of all. And second of all, that there's a lot of different ways to do this job and a lot of different styles in which to do it. And I've learned from my predecessor. I'm doing things way different than he did just because we're different personalities, and that's okay. So humbling, yes, but I also think I'm still in the midst of shaping my beliefs, and I've learned a lot from our players. And from them, I've seen the way that they've carried on the last few years, what they've learned and how their coaching staff did it. And I think there's a lot of things that I've learned from them that I'm going to put now in my wheelhouse and think that works out pretty well. And I really like the way you do that. I haven't seen it like that. I never played for Coach Boriseth. I never worked for him. And seeing that now from the player side, I'm learning that from them. And so I think humbling, yes, but also I'm learning along the way too.
Kevin was here today, just kind of like, what's that relationship been like with you and the working relationship and having the respect that you do for him to still be here and interact with the girls that he spent so much time in a program where he spent so much time.
It's been great having him around. He's not here all the time. He's not here for every team function or activity or even film session. So that was a lot of work in progress too, because he has taught them so much, and they're great players because they played for him and he taught them and recruited them, and I give him so much credit for who these players are today, because I think that a lot of that comes from him and what he's taught them. But what is really, really neat is I feel like since I took the job, he's been available for help, and he wasn't probably really sure how much he was going to be around. And yeah, he is retired, but he also loves the game, and these are also a lot of his girls, and he wants to see this place succeed. And I think that's what sets him apart from a lot of other people who step away from a program. Either they're forced out or it's their decision. A lot of them just break ties and they're gone. And actually, a lot of coaches want to see the program that they've just left. They want to see it fail. And that's the truth. And I've seen that happen in this industry. But it is pretty rare to find somebody like him who is willing to not only come around and offer advice, but to sit in on some coaches' meetings and to watch some film and to give his 2 cents, and then to say to me, I want you to win every game that you play. And it's a pretty rare thing. It says a lot about his character and how much he loves this place and he wants to see it thrive. So he's actually been been like a mentor throughout this whole process, and it's been amazing because, again, I didn't get the chance to play for him, and I wanted to, obviously, and so this has been a really cool way that I'm learning from him as he's being a mentor for me. So it's been a really good working relationship. It's something we've had to smooth over with how is it going to work within our staff, but I think we've figured it out to this point, and it's been a great addition.
You've mentioned that he watches some film. Are
Yeah.
there tasks that you've actually given him or a role that he specifically fills?
I would say the role that he's filling is because he's not traveling with us, and he's not at practice every day, but he still is enjoying his free time. But he really enjoys watching film, and he loves the game prep side of it. So he really does that, and we have a lot of conversations on what he sees on film, and does that match what I'm seeing, and joins our staff meetings quite a bit to talk about those things. That's the biggest role that I think he fills.
What would you say is the identity of your team? Offense, defense, or?
Yeah. That's a great question. I mean, our identity overall has really been to be a really strong defensive team, and I think you've seen that over the course of the conference play. I think 3 times opponents have scored 60 points or more. So I think we just thrive on that end. We love to guard. You saw it last night. That team that we played last night is so talented offensively. So to hold them truly to 48 points, they scored a bucket at the end to make it 50, but it's an incredible feat. So I think that has always been our MO, and this team just thrives on that and has taken a step in it. In the non-conference, when we didn't hit shots, we weren't guarding as well. And I think we've continued to mature throughout the season. Now, even if we don't hit shots, we're still not going to let you hit a shot. And that's growth. And I think that's always been a huge part of our identity. I think offensively, our identity remains how it's been in the past too, which is it could be anybody's night. It's we share the ball. I mean, we're leading the conference easily in a number of assists per game, and our assist to turnover ratio is ranked nationally. That's our ability to take care of the ball and then to share it and find the next best open player has always been our identity.
How do you get people to buy into that? And defense is dirty sometimes, how do you get people to buy
I get
into that?
asked that question a lot, the buy-in piece, because it's human nature to want to score the ball and to hear your name being called and to hear the cheers. And when you get a rebound, nobody really claps. Or when you cut the kid off and she doesn't score and she passes that off, nobody claps. And yet, that's the hard stuff, and that's the stuff that really matters. They believed it far before I got here. They believed in that, but we continue to emphasize it. I think that's the best advice I can give to people who are asking is we have a toughness award that we give out after every game, and it's not always the leading scorer. Sometimes it is, but it's about toughness. So it's about, and we show clips of this person. So we call out a player, we have a little trophy for it. We have our own way of going about it and talking about it. And then we show a little highlight reel from that game. And our teammates get excited for her. So, and we show the clips of the blue collar plays, the winning plays are what we call them. And they're not always glamorous. They're cutting kids off one-on-one. They're forcing a travel. They're getting a big rebound. They're fighting through screens. Things that just don't get a lot of glory, we glorify them. And I think that the way that we emphasize it can only help with that. Like I said, I think they believed in it far before we got here. Next year, we're going to have a whole new group, and we're going to have to teach them how to do that. And but I think that's going to continue to be a big part of our identity.
So should we be paying attention to your bench when team's on defense?
What'd you say? Sorry.
Will your bench be cheering when your team is on defense?
They will. That's another thing that we emphasize is we actually track what we call bricks. The NBA calls them kills. I just don't appreciate that word very much, so we call them bricks, but it's 3 stops in a row. And our goal is to get 7 or more bricks for every game. And so you can see our bench starting to get into it because they know we've gotten 2, so they're all yelling brick, brick, brick. They're going nuts on a stop, and you're wondering why. And it's because we've completed that brick, or it's because they know that we feed off of that momentum by getting stops, and then we know that we're running in transition, and what player doesn't love to run in transition?
Now that you've locked in a top 2 seed for the tournament, but that it is on a neutral site, is it a big deal to get the number 1 seed, or is it pretty much kind of the same?
I mean, as a competitor, you always want the most. You always want the best. And we haven't talked about it. I'm not even really allowing myself to think much about it. I didn't even know we locked in the 2 seed, but we're just taking it one game at a time. We feel like we can't get to next Saturday without getting to this Saturday. So it's important that we continue to focus on that. You always want more. You always want the most, but it's in the best possible position.
how, when it comes to this Saturday's game against Milwaukee,
Yeah.
how do you make sure that it's like not a trap game?
Yeah, that's
Because like you go from playing one of the teams that is, at the lowest of the conference to, next week is, the team
Yeah.
right next to you. How do you make sure that Saturday is not a trap game?
Yeah. So first of all, I think we have really mature players, and you would think that I would have to say all these things, and you kind of like have that in the back of your mind, and then go into a team film session like today and figure out how are we right now. And I actually really didn't feel like I needed to say much. Part of that might have to do with last year and what happened. Part of it is just they're mature and they understand the implications of not being focused and ready to go. And Milwaukee's won 3 of their last 6 games, or 3 of the last 4 games, and they're playing well. They've also lost 10 games by single-digit numbers. Like, their record could look very different had the ball gone in 1 or 2 more times in a lot of these games. And that's what you have to make sure your players know, is this team will continue to battle, and they've got good pieces, and there's certain players who are playing really well, and you start letting them get going early, then they're going to start to feel really good. And a lot of them are from our own state, and we've got to make sure that they don't feel good right here on this floor, as they did in the past. So I fortunately didn't really have to say a whole lot. I think that they know, and I think you're continuing to make it about yourselves. Like, this is about us. And if we allow that to happen, then we haven't shown up and played our best basketball. And that would be a real shame if we did that, because I think we're a talented group, and I think we work really hard. So we've got to just continue to do that every day. And the consistency, like we talked about, it's hard to do, but it's what separates good from great.
I got one last one. With the week in between, like the Milwaukee game and the Purdue Fort Wayne game, how nice will that be, or how will you manage that ahead of the regular season finale?
Yeah, we happen to get that bye, right?
Yeah.
The second to last game bye. So it is what it is. We are really managing load right now on practice time, and we're being really to the point in everything that we do, and we're not staying out on the floor longer than we have to, and really breaking things down quickly. So I think it does allow a little bit more rest time. I don't know how the week's going to totally lay out yet, but it does. It allows us to really focus on one opponent, and I think that time will be nice. Yeah.